Well, hello and welcome. So glad you've tuned in to Ladies Can We Talk tonight. This is Debbie Georgatos, and we have a great show lined up. And I want to spend this first 15 minutes, my first 15 segment on Speak Up for America, to talk about this campaign season. We'll, of course, have lots to talk about in the next 2 hours, given the wild primary season, the GOP, and some interesting things about the Democrat side. But right now, in this first 15, my little soliloquy for the show each week, I want to talk about the idea about how Americans have a special responsibility in this election cycle to really think for yourselves, refuse to be duped by the media, think through your own issues. I want to just share with you, I think that there are efforts out there, both within the media and within the left, just to tell you what to think, to tell you that everybody else thinks this, so you probably should think it. And there's never been a more important time for Americans, patriotic, liberty-loving Americans, to be tuned in and reaching conclusions based on your judgment. You do have the ability to make your own judgments and decisions, and don't get swayed by what the media and the left try to tell you. And I'll tell you, I'll just play a tiny little example here. This was a clip from this morning. This Sunday morning, March 6th, Rush Limbaugh was interviewed on Fox. I want to play a tiny segment of what was said this morning. That was Rush Limbaugh, and I started the tape a little bit later than I meant to because just prior to that, Fox News had pointed out that during Rush Limbaugh's show, he had said that Ted Cruz is the closest thing to Reagan in our lifetime. Now I want to ask you, hearing that, now Rush Limbaugh has not endorsed anyone. He has not endorsed Ted Cruz. If you heard that clip and you were going to be talking about it in an article you wrote, do you think that your article title would be Rush Limbaugh says that Donald Trump, has much bigger upside than downside? This is a title given to that interview, a story about the interview with Rush Limbaugh this morning on National Review. And here is my simple point. Anyone who listens to Rush Limbaugh, anyone who listens to that interview, you come away realizing that Rush Limbaugh has decided not to endorse, but that he's saying in every way possible that Ted Cruz is likable, has high integrity, is a profoundly, deeply committed conservative. He is likable, he's trustworthy, it just sings his praises. Earlier in the interview, he was asked by Fox, hey, by the way, what are we going to do if Trump gets the nomination? How are we going to go forward? And given that context of the question, if Trump wins the nomination, then Limbaugh said, well, there's more upside than downside. So I raise this as one of many examples I want to run through in this segment, in this Speak Up for America segment, about the idea that the media and the American left try to tell you by the titles they choose, by the segments they choose to excerpt, what you're supposed to think, and you're not really sure you're supposed to think differently. I want to just tell you other things that were just so misleading recently in the media. And we're going to talk about Saturday's primaries in the second hour, but just one little thing, a couple quick things I'll tell you. In Kansas, the most recent polling, even by these alleged experts in polling, showed in Kansas that Donald Trump was going to win by 6 points. He lost by 25 points. And polling is often used not to measure public opinion, but to shape it. That was a radical difference from how the people actually voted. In Kentucky, Trump was shown to be up by 13% in the most recent polling, and Rubio to be second. The truth was he barely won by 4 points, and Rubio was in third place, and Ted Cruz took second. In the final one in Louisiana, Trump was, in the most recent polling, up by 15, and the truth was he won by 3. In fact, today, we'll talk about it more later, but Louisiana has announced that actually both Donald Trump and Senator Cruz get exactly the same number of delegates out of Louisiana because of the way it's proportional, and it was very close. Donald Trump barely won. Another couple examples I want to get to, and this all really ties to the idea that we have as voters, as people who have the unbelievably precious privilege of choosing and shaping our government, we have to be alert. I want to tell you 2 more quick things. One was, there are headlines recently talking about the number of unaccompanied minors again pouring over the southern border. And there have been people, actually elected officials in our country, and people who are responsible for the border. One particular person, a U.S. Customs and Border Protection Commissioner, R. Gil Kurlikowski, who was visiting with the police in Atlantis and the people in Atlanta, Georgia, essentially saying, border crossers, unaccompanied minors, this is our new normal. And that same expression, new normal, was used another time recently discussing the border, as though we're all supposed to agree the southern border is simply can never be closed, can never be a secure border as other countries have secure borders. It is this impression, this idea they're trying to portray to Americans that's extreme, it's unreasonable, it's ridiculous to ever think about securing the border. The new normal is no security, just tons of people strolling in, and we take them in and then we get them on a fast track to citizenship, which is what the Democrats are doing. Last thing on this whole new normal idea. And my point in all this is, we, the American people, we decide the new normal. We decide which candidates we liked based on what they say and do, not based on polls what everybody else likes. And we decide what is the normal thing for America about the border. It's okay to want the border secure. Last example is this. In Seattle this past week, in fact, I put this up on the Ladies Can We Talk Facebook page. In Seattle this last week, a mom had protested because in a locker room at a public pool, a man came into the women's locker room, changed his clothes in front of all the women in there, staring at them while they're changing their clothes, and after he was finished with his swim, came back in the locker room while a girls' swim team was changing clothes. A mother complained, and the people at the facility said this: well, if he claims that he's gender misassigned, if he claims he's a female today, we can't do anything about that. These stories happen all over the country. And again, folks, it's our job to decide what the new normal is. It's our job to decide what America is. And I'll tell you one last thing that I just have to, we talked about this last week, but just couldn't be more important. You're going to hear from the left, from the media, from all the voices of the American left that basic common American ideals are old-fashioned, they're out of step, that people of color will never vote Republican going forward, that the Republican Party or conservative ideas are dead. The Republican Party is in big trouble, but the conservative ideas are dead because people will say on the American left, well, all minorities, blacks, Hispanics, Asians, they're all going to vote with us. And so your conservative ideas are not going to carry sway anymore in America. That the Democrat, liberal, anything goes on every subject is going to become the new norm. And again, I want to remind you, conservatism is alive and well and strong in America. Just one quick thing. President Obama, when he was reelected, he's the only president in modern history to be reelected to his second term by 3.5 million fewer votes than he got the first time. He was not wildly popular. Contrary to what the left will tell you, he is not wildly popular. The U.S. is increasingly red. We have more states that are red, which is Republican or conservative. That's 20 in terms of party affiliation, majority party affiliation, than blue, only 14. We have in America, during the Obama years, Democrats have lost 13 senators, 69 congressmen, 10 governors, and 917 state legislatures. When Americans see the ugliness of left-wing ideas, they go back to the right ideas of America. And so, do not get swayed by the media's polls, by what someone on the left says the new normal is, by what the left tries to tell you is popular. Basic American ideas about freedom and liberty and the rights of individuals, they still will win. But it takes fighting on our side. It takes fighting on the conservative side to speak up and say, that we, the people, shape America. This is Debbie Georgatos. Ladies, Can We Talk? Do not go away. We're having a very quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about Hillary's latest legal troubles. Debbie Georgatos and Ladies, Can We Talk?